Okay, everyone. So this is the second video for the week. I don't plan on doing more than one video per week unless it's necessary. And that would definitely be the case this week because we have two parallel assignments going on in the beginning of the school year. I explained that in the previous video where I talk about the narrative essay that will be due in 11 days from now. But this video is for the other side of our instruction for the week, which is To Kill a Mockingbird. So I am actually going to be giving you some live notes through a PowerPoint, explaining everything that you need to know. I do highly recommend writing this down with a pen or pencil onto paper, into a notebook, a Mead notebook if you have it, anything will do. The main reason for that is that it's proven really by science and studies that we retain knowledge better when we write it with our hand rather than when we type it. I think sometimes when we type, we go into this like automatic copying mode where we're not thinking about what we're doing. Whereas when you're writing it, you have a little more time to process and think about what you're hearing. So I'm going to share my screen and we will get into the notes for our first novel of the year, which is To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, this is a fantastic, famous American novel, and it was made into a film that was very successful as well. And I think you'll be surprised at how relevant, sadly, how relevant this story still is. So if you do have your notes, now would be a good time to begin. That I'm going to tell you everything you need to know to get started with our unit on To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, we will be with this for a couple weeks here, so you're going to have to get really familiar with these characters and the plot and the setting of what's happening. Speaking of setting, the setting for To Kill a Mockingbird is Macomb, Alabama. So this is a fictional town in Alabama that's based on a real town, but Macomb is, I don't believe, is a real place unless it's by happenstance. And so it's sort of this podunk hillbilly town in Alabama, and it revolves around the character Mayella Yule's accusation of rape on Tom Robinson. Now, Tom Robinson is a black man who lives in Macomb, and Mayella Yule is a white girl from a poor white family, also in Macomb. We'll get more into the plot in a second. Just behind that setting, you'll need to know that Harper Lee, the author, published To Kill a Mockingbird.
Elementary teachers, we need to get started on math testing as soon as possible. So if you could start getting
got an announcement.
That would be good. As soon as possible, we start math testing. Thank you.
Okay, that was Mr. Tell. Okay, so this was her first novel, and for a long time it was her only novel. She published it in 1960, right at the beginning of what we now call the Civil Rights Movement. This was, as I believe you should be familiar, a period of cultural and racial conflict in the South, the Southern United States. The book won the Pulitzer Prize in 1961, sold over 15 million copies, if you can believe it, and was made into an award-winning film featuring Gregory Peck. If you were in class with me, we would watch segments of that film. It's black and white, but still manages to capture the attention of your classmates. Characters. So you should be writing all of this down. This is really good to know. So I'm going to go nice and slowly and pat out each character. But the first and foremost character you need to know is our protagonist, Scout Finch. Now, Scout is not her given name, it's her nickname, but she is a girl, and she's a passionate and vocal young woman. Now, she is very young when this story begins, and her understanding of the plot, which is based on a rape accusation, obviously brings a young girl into a very ugly side of culture and what can happen to adults and to young people. So Scout is the person that we follow throughout the course of this novel. Very unique personality, very spunky, sort of a tomboyish character, if you will, and very intensely intelligent. Scout's older brother is Jem. Jem is sort of like a he's like a jock, but he's very caring too. So I don't want to put off like he's this mean bro. He's pretty protective of his little sister, um, and he plays games with her in the summer outside, and they're just kind of like always together. Their father is Atticus Finch. So he is a widower, which means that his wife died. And we don't see that happen in the story. When we meet Scout and Jem and Atticus, their mother has already passed. So we don't really know why or how. We know that the children were very little, but we do know that he's a widower and he's raising them almost alone, if it were not for the next character, Calpurnia. Calpurnia is the cook and motherly figure of the Finch household. She's a black woman from the other side of town who walks across town every day to cook and take care of Scout and Jem. And this, of course, with the conflict of a rape accusation between a white girl and a black man, brings an interior conflict into the Finch household. Although it's not necessarily between Atticus and Calpurnia, they're on the same page, but it does bring some of the racial divide into the home of the Finches. Dill is Scout and Jem's friend. He's a little bit of a liar, but he's fun. He likes to get into games and a little bit of trouble. Their neighbor is Boo Radley. They call him Boo because he's scary. No one's actually ever seen him, or the children have never seen him. He always stays in the house, and they play games to try to get him to come out. Bob Yule is the father of Mayella, who is the accuser of Tom Robinson. So Bob is a character you should know. And then, of course, Tom Robinson himself is an accused black man. And one thing that we find out later, this is a little bit of a spoiler, is that Tom actually only has one good arm. So in a farming accident, he was working with a machine when he was younger. He actually injured and lost use of one of his arms. I think it was his right arm. So that's one thing you need to know. Okay, so these are all the characters. If you're behind, I recommend pausing because I'm going to move forward, finishing your thing, and then hitting play. So like we said, the conflict of this novel is a rape accusation. Mayella Yule accuses Tom, a crippled black man, of raping her. Atticus, the father of Scout and Jem, chooses to defend Tom in court because he is a lawyer. This sends Macomb County, the town, into a very immediate uproar and divide. People begin taking sides right away. So Scout tells us all of this. She's the narrator, and she offers a contrast between her innocence, just as a little girl who doesn't understand. She doesn't understand injustice. She also doesn't understand things like rape and all of the sort of negative things that come with being a human in your time in the world. So she's learning all this stuff. She's like, wait, he didn't do it, so what's the problem? Or she sees the truth very plainly, whereas adults do not. Again, I recommend pausing if you need to, okay? The impact of this, guys, this obviously is so relevant today. It addressed racial bias and conflict based on true events and can even be compared to, like I said, today's present day scenarios. This was based on a real thing that Harper Lee witnessed as a child. It is dramatized and fictionalized, but it is based on something that she recalls. Guys, think about the relevance of the news today and what we see with George Floyd, or many innocent Black men who are dying or being accused of things they did not do. It's just kind of insane that this is happening right now. And I think To Kill a Mockingbird is even more important because of that. One thing you should be aware of, though, is that To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, which is one of my favorite recent hip hop records, is actually referencing To Kill a Mockingbird. Think of To Kill a Mockingbird, To Pimp a Butterfly. The title itself is recalling the idea of the story, and it also references themes throughout that album. So just showing you a little bit of relevance there. And Harper Lee did publish one more book before she died in 2015, which is actually the sequel to Kill a Mockingbird. That was 1 year before she died in 2016. Themes. These are just some titles of themes. We would go more particularly into them, but we have loss of innocence, fantasy versus reality, race, class, social inequality, obviously, good versus evil, education of morality, meaning learning what is right and what is wrong, and how complicated that can be, and privacy versus transparency. So we have families in Macomb who are very private and families in Macomb who are very transparent, and that does reveal some truths or hide some truths. Symbolic value, things that represent other ideas. The mockingbird itself represents something. What is it? What is a mockingbird? What does it mean to shoot or to kill a mockingbird? We also have this act of shooting things. There will be a rabid dog that they have to shoot. There are mockingbirds that they are shooting. They go hunting. So what does this idea of shooting mean or represent? We will get further into the idea of a fire. There is a fire scene. And then with the transparency and the privacy theme from previous slide, we have indoor versus outdoor, and that kind of plays with that. So things that are inside are private, things that are outside are transparent, and there are actually some homes where things that happen inside are transparent because the doors are open and the windows are open, or the windows are closed, so it's private. So we kind of have this lock of the symbol of a indoor and outdoor versus a transparent and a private thing going on. Okay, so that is the whole thing there. That is all of the slides I have. You guys have this week some reading to do, and the questions aren't due till next week. So in the prior video, I said that is pretty much everything you have to do. The reason I said that is because you should begin reading To Kill a Mockingbird. Guys, if you have any questions, we obviously have a live session tomorrow, but we do have office hours on Thursday as well. So I encourage you to reach out if you have questions or you want more clarification. That being said, I hope you guys are well. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the virtual meet.